We often hear about people who, look really successful in their careers. They've got the titles, the recognition, all that stuff.
Right. On the surface, everything seems perfect.
Exactly. But underneath, sometimes there's this nagging feeling, a sense that what looks good on the outside doesn't quite match up with, well, how you feel inside.
That disconnect. Yeah, that really hits home for a lot of folks. It's kind of like, when your smoke alarm battery is low, that faint little beep.
Oh, yeah. Drives you crazy eventually.
Well, yeah, but initially it's easy to ignore, right? But it's actually a warning. And in our work lives, that quiet beep, that could be our curiosity just not getting any attention.
Unmet curiosity. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We've been looking at some really interesting ideas about why this gap happens. And one thing that keeps popping up is this concept of cognitive scripts. Basically, ways of thinking that can seriously box us in when it comes to our careers.
That's right. We see a couple of main patterns playing out. First, there's something we could call the sequel script.
Okay. Like a movie sequel.
Pretty much. It's this deep-seated idea that your career has to just be a straight line forward from what you've already done. Just bigger, more responsibility, maybe more money.
The predictable path. Keep doing what worked before.
Exactly. It feels safe, maybe financially predictable, like those Hollywood sequels, but it rarely sparks real excitement or, passion. This often ties back to a cognitive bias called anchoring.
Anchoring. How does that work here?
Well, we tend to over-rely on the first piece of info we get, so our initial career success becomes the anchor, making it really hard to even consider moving in a different direction.
Right. It's that if it ain't broke, don't fix its mentality. Even if not broke, actually feels kind of empty.
Precisely. And then there's the other one, the crowd pleaser script.
Okay, I think I can guess this one. Pleasing others.
You got it. This is all about steering clear of potential judgment, sticking to the conventional, safe paths, because anything a bit unusual might raise eyebrows or invite criticism, fear of what other people might think.
Yeah, that's powerful. So these two scripts, the sequel and the crowd pleaser.
Together, they create this massive inertia, they keep us locked into these predictable lanes. And we never explore those side roads, those detours that might actually lead somewhere amazing, somewhere much more fulfilling.
So the big question becomes, how do we break free? How do we start exploring without, blowing up our whole lives? Because that's scary, too.
Well, that's where this central idea we've been digging into comes in. Tiny experiments.
Tiny experiments. Okay, tell me more.
Think of them as small, really focused ways to dip your toe into those areas of curiosity. Low stakes tests. You're not committing to some huge life change right away.
Low stakes. I like that. Avoids the overwhelm.
Exactly. And actually, behavioral science backs this up. Small, consistent actions. They build momentum and confidence way better than trying to make one giant, terrifying leap.
So it's about building up slowly. Low risk, but potentially high reward.
That's the core idea. Low stakes, high potential upside. Generate momentum with small wins, rather than getting paralyzed by the thought of, say, quitting your job tomorrow.
Okay, this sounds practical. So what does a tiny experiment actually look like? Do we have some examples?
Yeah, the sources we looked at had some great ones.
Yeah.
Consider this. Committing to 30 days of newsletters.
30 days, okay. Not launching a media empire then.
No, definitely not. The point is just dedicating a little time each day to writing about something you're genuinely interested in. Could be investing, AI, baking, anything.
So just writing for yourself or maybe sharing thoughts?
Could be either. Maybe you curate interesting articles you find, or you try explaining key ideas in your own words. The focus is on the doing for 30 days.
Okay, I see. What's the benefit there?
Well, it's interesting. You're not just learning more about your chosen topic. You're also, flexing your creative muscles, right? Practicing how to communicate your ideas.
And you end up with something tangible.
Exactly. A body of work after just a month. Even if no one else sees it, you made it. That feels good.
Yeah, it does. Okay, what else?
Another cool one was 50 days of contribution.
Contribution.
This involves actively helping people out on platforms like Reddit or Discord, maybe forums related to something you know about.
So using your existing skills.
Right. Maybe you're good with certain software, or you've dealt with specific workplace issues, or you're deep into a hobby like, 3D printing. You jump in and offer help daily for 50 days.
Okay, helping others is good, but how is that an experiment for you?
Well, the real value isn't just the helping, though that's great. By doing it consistently, you're sort of testing the waters for future possibilities.
Yeah.
Could this lead to coaching?
Ah, I see. Or maybe creating a course or something down the line.
Precisely. It's a low-pressure way to see if people find your knowledge valuable and if you actually enjoy sharing it in that way.
Okay, that makes sense. Any more tangible examples?
Yeah, one more. 12 weeks of full-course meals for friends.
Okay, now we're talking food.
Right. This one really shows the experiment side. Maybe you've dreamed of opening a food truck or a small restaurant.
So instead of taking out a huge loan,
You spend 12 weeks trying out recipes, cooking for friends, getting honest feedback. You're testing the core concept of the food and your enjoyment of making it before any big financial risk.
got it. Testing the dream in a manageable way. So these examples, they seem to have some common threads.
They absolutely do. These tiny experiments, they're typically time-bound, usually somewhere between, say, 15 and 100 days.
And 100 days, while it sounds like a lot, is actually pretty short in the grand scheme of a career, isn't it?
Exactly, a blip, really. Second, they are output-focused.
Reading.
The emphasis is on creating something regularly, daily, weekly, whatever fits the experiment. But crucially, without expecting external rewards right away.
So not chasing likes or views or subscribers initially.
Right. It's about the processes, the learning, the doing, the creating. That takes the pressure off.
Okay, that's important. It lets you focus on the actual interest.
And that lack of focus on external validation early on is key. It gives you space to explore just because you're curious, to figure out what genuinely clicks for you without worrying about what's popular.
Makes sense. What else?
They're iterative. You don't aim for perfection on day one. You start simple and you aim to get just a little bit better over time. Small improvement.
Like building blocks.
Yeah, exactly. It's like agile development, you know? Constant learning, adapting as you go, like a scientist running tests.
So the most important thing when choosing one of these, it has to be something you're genuinely curious about.
Absolute fundamental. What you actually want to learn more about. What sparks your interest, even if it seems totally unrelated to your day job. That's the fuel.
Because the downside is so small.
Minimal. If it doesn't work out, you spend a bit of time, learn something, no big deal. But the potential upside, that's where it gets exciting.
Look,
You might stumble onto work that feels less like work and more like play. Or you connect with a whole community of people who are into the same niche thing you are to find your tribe, so to speak. It can be genuinely life-changing.
okay, so you do the experiment, but how do you make sure you're actually learning from it, not just, doing the thing?
Great question. That's where this reflection framework comes in. It's called plus minus next.
Plus, minus, next. Okay, simple. How does it work?
Super simple. You just take maybe 10, 15 minutes once a week, look back at the past week of your experiment, and you make 3 quick lists, 3 columns.
All right, column 1, plus.
Yep. Here, you just jot down what went well, what felt good, what positive things did you notice. So maybe for that newsletter experiment.
You might write down, I actually really enjoyed figuring out how to edit those short videos I included.
Exactly. You capture what's working, what's energizing you. Then column 2, minus.
The flip side, what didn't work so well.
Right. Be honest. What patterns held you back? What felt ineffective or frustrating? So, sticking with the newsletter.
You might write, I kept skipping days because I didn't actually block out time on my calendar.
Perfect. You identify the friction points. It requires a bit of honesty with yourself.
Okay. And the third column, next.
This is the action step. Based on your plus and minus columns, what small practical adjustments can you make for the next week?
So turning insights into action.
Precisely. So for our newsletter person under next, they might write 2 things. Based on the plus, make a list of 10 video techniques to try over the next 10 days.
Building on what worked.
Yep. And based on the minus, wake up 45 minutes earlier on Tuesday and Thursday specifically to work on the newsletter.
Addressing the problem directly.
Exactly. And doing this weekly. This plus minus next rhythm. It turns the experiment from just an activity into a powerful feedback loop.
So you're constantly learning, adjusting, course correcting.
Right. You're not just passively doing it, you're actively steering it. And that builds momentum in a way that feels really sustainable. It keeps that curiosity alive.
And ensures you're actually getting meaningful insights, even if the experiment itself doesn't turn into your next big career move immediately.
Absolutely. The learning itself is valuable.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the main takeaway feels like you don't need to make some huge dramatic leap to explore that feeling of professional restlessness.
Not at all. These tiny experiments, they offer a really practical, manageable way to start exploring those curiosities. To learn about yourself, maybe uncover paths that feel more fulfilling.
And you can do it alongside your current life, right? Without needing to quit your job or upend everything.
That's the beauty of it. Small, intentional steps into the unknown, just fueled by what genuinely interests you.
It really leaves you thinking, doesn't it? It prompts that question.
Yeah. What's just one small, time-bound experiment you could start this week based on something, anything you've always been a little curious about?
That first small step
Mm-hmm.
could be the start of something really interesting.